one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. Just gotta mean something to you. They gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
When did winning not become the main thing? I always say keep the main thing, where, winning is the only thing that truly matters.
Welcome to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Boy, do we have a show for you today. I hope everybody out there is having a successful day, successful afternoon, successful night, whichever point in time you listen to this. I hope it all culminates in a great 24 hours and a successful, dope 24 hours for you. And then I hope you use that 24 hours of greatness and you carry it on. And then you take that next 24 hours of greatness and you carry that on. And nobody's perfect, so all those 24 hours might not stack up to be 24 straight hours consecutively of greatness. But after that bump in the road, I hope you get back to that greatness. You know what I'm saying? I wish you nothing but greatness. Now, we have something to talk about. And I'm not going to lie to you, the majority of the show, if not the entirety of the show, who am I kidding? The entirety of the show will be used to talk about the Dallas Cowboys trading away Micah Parsons to the... I can't even get my words straight. Dallas Cowboys trading away Micah Parsons, superstar, stud, generational talent in a lot of people's minds. Micah Parsons, pass rusher extraordinaire, to the GreenBay Packers. Now, my first thought, because I love to give my first thoughts when big trades happen. Excuse me. I did it for the Luka trade and any other big trade we can think of. I talked the KD trade. Like, I always like to give when Derrick Henry signed, like big things happening, players switching new teams to different teams and they big name players. I like to give my raw reactions or tell you what my raw reaction was when I got the news. So I was at work actually when I first got the news, and my manager, me and him be talking sports and whatnot, cool ass manager, and we was just talking about this last week about, because one of my homeboys at work with me is a Cowboy fan, and I said, you got an obsession with losers, I see, because his favorite basketball team is the Clippers. So I said, you got that weird obsession with losers. That's interesting, because he was trying to talk trash about my teams, not even knowing what my teams was. But then I told him throughout that conversation, I was like, you really should hold on tight to Micah Parsons for as long as you can. I said, because unless they use that tag on him for the next 2 years to force him to stay, I said, he ain't going to be a Dallas Cowboy to retire. I said, he's going to leave. I said, he seems to not like Jerry Jones. He seems to not be willing to play this game with Jerry Jones. He seems to be willing to do everything that was opposite of what Dak and some of these other dudes was willing to do to get their money from Jerry Jones. Micah Parsons seems to be over it. I don't think Dak, I don't think any of those dudes like Dak, CD, Dez, Zeke, I don't think any of them threatened to, I don't think any of those dudes requested a trade. I think all of them dudes were steadfast and wanting to get a deal done in Dallas. We'll get through the timeline of everything that's going to happen with the Micah Parsons situation as much as I can remember and know. But just a very, very interesting situation of Micah Parsons. That like my raw reaction was just like just very interesting, because I wasn't shocked that Micah was traded, because if you don't listen to any of my shows where I talked about this, even dating back to last year when he was still a Cowboy, I thought Micah would eventually get traded, because he just seemed to not be willing to play the games that all them other dudes was willing to play to stay in that. He didn't seem addicted to wanting to be a Dallas Cowboy. Like it was never he don't want to be a Dallas Cowboy. But it felt like it got to a point where Micah legitimately was, even though he voiced it, because people voice stuff all the time. It felt like Micah legitimately was like, when he said that he was done with this Jerry Jones shit and all of the stuff, basically, I'm just summing up what he said. Basically, he done playing these games with Jerry Jones and this Cowboys mystique and all of this shit. And when he was laid out on that table during that preseason game, which I don't understand why people making it a bigger deal than it was, because to me, you talk about body language. his body language is a reflection of how his boss is treating him and talking about him. Dude can't even get his name right. Keep calling him Michael. If I'm Micah Parsons, I wouldn't want to play for. And this is what broke people always seem to never understand. People say he should be grateful, yada yada yada. Micah Parsons could get paid just as much in Dallas as he could anywhere else in the NBA. I mean, in the NFL. What are you talking about being grateful? Pay me what my talent demands. Like, this game of broke fans running up and oh my God, he should just be great, bro. Shut up. I done seen the people in his comment section already talking reckless. Like, it's insane. And then when I first heard the news, I thought to myself, because when my boss had told me about it, we was jumping up and down. Like he was jumping up and down, and he was laughing. We were like, shit was hilarious. We was laughing about it, like, because we was literally just talking about this. Because I told him, you better wrap not my manager, but my homie. I said, you better wrap your Mike up with these years you got left with him, because he's not gonna remain a Dallas Cowboy. And just like that, a week later, he's no longer a Dallas Cowboy. And it's not shocking to me. Now, my other raw reaction, when I thought about it, when I got home and got to sit on it, I said to myself, a lot of GMs would have traded a player like Micah Parsons to the AFC. Because the only way you have to deal with him is if you meet him in a Super Bowl. That's the only way he can truly fuck your season. Because if you playing so bad in the season where it come down to one game and that one game happened to be against a team in the AFC that Micah was traded to, then that's not Micah, that's you. But the only way Micah can truly screw you if you trade him to the AFC is if you meet him in the Super Bowl and he go for like 5-6 impactful sacks. Most people, most GMs, I don't believe, would have traded him within the NFC. That is a very interesting tactic by Jerry Jones. Not to mention, you trade him to a team that really has had your number over the last couple years. Not only that, because you could basically say the Packers have historically been great against the Cowboys over the last, decade or so, dating back to Aaron Rodgers and probably Brett Favre if I think about it long enough. But the thing that's very interesting to me is you trade him to, it's not even that you just trade him within the NFC. Because like I said, most GMs don't want to face a player like Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is not an average player. He is not even just a great player. Micah Parsons, in a lot of people's mind and in mine, is a generational level talent. Now, if he turns out to not be generational, he'll probably just fall under that tier of generational talent. But at this very moment, it's hard to argue that he is not a generational talent, which is why it's wild that he was traded. But that's why it should be wild. And to a lot of people, it is wild that he was traded. But like I said, this does not shock me. Him being traded is not what shocked me. Him being traded to the Packers is what shocked me. So let's continue down this rabbit hole. So, like I said, most GMs are trading him to the AFC, because you just don't want a player of this magnitude fucking your season. The one thing I'll give Jerry is that he didn't trade him within the division. He didn't pull a Philadelphia and watch Saquon walk to the Eagles. So that does help you. However, you still play you will more than likely see the Packers twice a year. Once throughout the regular season, because the NFL definitely probably putting them on your schedule every year now. So you'll probably see them every year for the next 4 years throughout the regular season. Not only that, though, you're probably, if you are a good enough team to make the playoffs, you're probably going to run into the Packers. That's just how fate is going to align for Dallas. So you traded him to a team within the NFC that's not a bad team. That was not just a pass rusher away. This is a great team that now that you give them a legitimate pass rusher like a Micah Parsons, it takes them to an even further. Like if you didn't believe that the Packers were a Super Bowl contender, you definitely believe they are a Super Bowl contender now. But you trade them to a team that's not rebuilding, that's not a stinker in the NFC. You trade them to one of the top teams in the NFC. So if you believe that you are going to be a top team, you're 100% going to see this team. They 100% will stand in your way from getting to a Super Bowl. They might stand in your way from making it to a playoff game. Like, you might be a win or two away, and now you got to meet the Packers. Or your season was going so great, but that loss to the Packers is what really derailed something. And you trade them to them. That's why that trade to me makes no sense. Because the Packers seem to be a team that will, over the next 4 years, the Packers could directly be the reason you don't succeed in multiple areas. Oh, we didn't make the playoffs because we lost this game to the Packers. Oh, we went home in the playoffs because we lost this game to the Packers. Oh, we didn't get to the Super Bowl because we lost this game to the Packers. At least if he not in the AFC, you could trade him to a contending team in the AFC. Because this, I heard somebody say, well, I done seen multiple people tweet this and say that it was a great trade because you got 2 first-round picks. The Packers will probably be drafting in the late 20s. Like, the Packers are not about to be in the lottery. If you want to talk in terms of the NBA, you're not drafting 1 through 10. You're probably not drafting 10 through 15. You're probably going to be 25 or further back. And that's 25 is really, if the Packers having a down year, you might sneak into like 23, 22, 20. But more than likely, them first round picks is going to be late in the draft first round picks. So, and don't listen, you can still find top tier talent late in the first round. But if you're Dallas, are you going to find a Micah Parsons with those 2 picks? And in my opinion, I do not like, well, no, it's not even in my opinion. I'll get to the my opinion part in a second. But I don't like when people say shit like, well, they was bad with Micah, so they can be bad. Like, I get that. It's not even that I don't like when people say it, because that is a legitimate quote, and it matters when it matters. But in a situation like this, saying that the Dallas Cowboys were bad or weren't good because of Micah is insane. I hate it when great players, like when generational level talents are really on terrible situations. And so motherfuckers say, well, why would you pay him this amount of money? I see what Jerry talking about. They was this bad with him. So paying him this much money to be bad with a high paid player, that's stupid. That's stupid. Like, to me, you are supposed to be building to become a Super Bowl team. Not having Micah Parsons does not get you closer to being a Super Bowl team. Not to mention, the draft is always a gamble, and it will always be a gamble. We've seen prospects like Trevor Lawrence supposed to be the next coming of Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and he has been nothing near that since coming to the NFL. They hyped up Baker Mayfield. He has been nothing close to what they hyped him up to be coming out of it. He ain't even on the team he was still drafted by. Now, to Baker's credit, Trevor Lawrence probably shouldn't still be on the same team he was drafted by, but Jacksonville really ain't got too many options out there. But we've seen players who they talked about so highly of come into the NFL and not be the same player. So that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, what matters is the production that you put on the field on Sundays or Saturdays during the playoffs, or Thursdays or Mondays. We covered all the football days. But to trade away a talent like Micah Parsons, for one, let me just get outside of my thoughts of not being shocked by it, because I thought it was going to happen. I get why this is a shocking trade, because you don't draft a player to become a Micah Parsons to then trade him. Like I said, the draft is a gamble. You know what Micah Parsons is. Like, Micah Parsons is one of the if not the best pass rusher. And a lot of people, if you had to pick your pass rushers, like starting out your top pass rushers, or to start a team with, or to put on your team, most people taking Micah to start off. Like, if you're a Cleveland fan, you might take Myles Garrett, but Micah Parsons is what, 25, 26? Myles Garrett is either 29 or 30. TJ Watt is 30 or 31. So, and Trey Hendrickson is 30, 31. You're not taking any of them niggas over Micah Parsons. I don't understand how you have a player that's a bona fide stud, a bona fide talent, that you know is going to be a catalyst for greatness on your defense. Like, if your defense is great, you can directly point to Micah Parsons. You know he gonna put asses in the seats. It's hard, in my opinion, for a defensive dude to be a guy that can bring people to the stadium in 2025 when everybody wants to see a lot of scoring. Micah Parsons can put asses in the seats. He play a premium position, pass rusher. You spend high draft capital to go get him. You nurture him. You see to his greatness to make sure he got everything in place to become the talent that he became. And then you trade him. Because the owner don't like that Micah wanted his agent to be the one that did the deal. Or for whatever weird ass reasons Jerry Jones tells you, he felt like he should have traded Micah. It just really don't make sense. To me, I read a stat that was like, Micah Parsons is the only player of the players that have made, and I think it's only like 5 or 6 players, maybe even less than that, where they have been a Pro Bowler their first 4 years in the league. And I think had double-digit sacks, and he the only one that was traded from his team in that 5th year. He the only one that wasn't on that original team that drafted him. So that should tell you in itself how insane it is that Micah Parsons was traded. But then you look at the fact that top 3 players in the league at their positions are rarely ever traded when you really think about it. Like Mahomes, Lamar, and Josh Allen are not getting traded. It's not going to happen. Even when Lamar requested a trade, the Ravens kept saying, yeah, we're not trading him. We're going to figure out a deal. We're not trading him. You look at the top 3 running backs. Derrick Henry, who, mind you, wasn't traded. They stupidly let him and Saquon walk, but neither of them were traded. Jonathan Taylor seems to me like the first one that will probably be traded, but the Colts probably not going to trade a stud. They probably not going to trade him in his prime. They'll probably wait till they feel like his prime is over. So even in that situation, and some people might not feel like, Josh Jacobs wasn't even traded when he was having those years in Vegas, so / Oakland. So even at the running back position, they not trade. Like Derrick Henry wasn't getting traded at the peak of his powers. They don't trade even the running back position. You don't see the top 3 receivers in the league. You don't see them get traded. Now, the exception might be A.J. Brown. I'm trying to think at the time of A.J. Brown being traded, was he considered a top 3 receiver in the league? I would have to go all the way back to the year he was traded, look at the receivers that was playing at the time, figure out how every receiver was ranked, and figure it out. But we are specifically talking about the top 3 because to me, you cannot argue that Micah Parsons is not a top 3 pass rusher or even just top 3 at his position in the NFL. But A.J. Brown might be the exception. But back then when Julio and Steve Smith Sr., Megatron, Antonio Brown, like Antonio Brown was giving the Steelers hell, and when he was in his prime, they did not trade the man to the they didn't trade him. They waited till he was out of his prime, basically, to trade him, or when he just became a loose cannon. Like, you don't usually trade top-tier players or the top 3 at a position group. And who's to say Micah is even in his prime? He's just a generational talent. Generational talent seem to look like they in their prime every year. And we don't even recognize it until we look back on it and see a span of years where we say, oh my goodness, that was probably his MVP. Those was his prime years right there. Even though you look at the whole catalog and you're like, I mean, but Jesus Christ, man, his whole career looked like he was in his prime from the day he stepped foot in the league. That's the type of player Micah Parsons is, which makes it even wilder that he was traded. And I understand it. Like, to me, when you trade a player like a Micah Parsons, what you should be it's even hard to say that because I'm trying to think of an athlete that was like a top tier player that was traded within the first, that was a top 3 in the league that was traded, like at their position. So like, I mean, and Micah Parsons is also a top 10 player in the league in a lot of people's mind. Some probably have him ranked even higher than that. Like, I'm trying, it would be hard not to have Micah Parsons in the top 10, just thinking off the top of my head. And especially how much you value certain positions. Like, I know certain people wouldn't put receivers in their top 10 because they don't think the receiving position is as important as a pass rusher. Like, I saw somebody today say that they wouldn't put Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson over TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, or Micah Parsons. And I got to think about that because it'd be very hard for me not to have Jamar Chase in my top 10. I watched Jamar Chase play and he looked like a top 10 player in the league, in my opinion. But I'm trying to think to myself, like, a player who was at, once again, because we don't even know if this is Micah in the peak of his powers. We can't even say this in his prime because he's just going into year 5 now. Like, 12 sacks every year his first 4 years in the league, or at least 12 sacks in his first 4 years in the league every year. I mean, and I'm gonna be honest, it ain't like Micah done really played with, I'm not saying the Dallas Cowboy defenses weren't good at certain points when Micah was there, but that he definitely haven't played with another bona fide in his prime or entering his prime type of pass rusher. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence he's been past his prime when Micah was there. Like, to me, Micah on Green Bay with Rashawn Gary, I really like that. And I'm gonna get to the Packers in a minute, but it's just it's a very interesting move by the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, because even, like I said, the draft isn't guaranteed, so you can't guarantee that you, even with those first picks, wherever they are, you can't guarantee that you're drafting a Micah Parsons. That's the first thing. But then when you look at how great of a player, because, like, once again, we are not talking about just like some good player who was, he was a good player, he was decent, he had 8 sacks first year, 10 the second year, got the 9 the next year, and then 12. No, bro, this is not that type of player. And then his greatness is not just reliant on sacks. Micah Parsons is a great player. Like, it's not just sacks that make Micah Parsons great. So now, to me, this brings up a bigger issue with Dallas. Jerry Jones, for as good of a businessman as he might have been back in the day and yada, 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 I mean, I just think at some point in time, we may all lose the pulse. And I think Jerry Jones has lost the pulse. He's lost the plot. I saw somebody tweet that a GM said that everybody's playing chess and Jerry Jones is playing checkers. Like, this type of move don't make sense to me because, I mean, look at how the Bengals refused to trade away T. Higgins and how did I forget this man's name? Trey Hendrickson. They refused to trade away them dudes. They done held on to them dudes as long as they possibly can hold on to them. Dallas was willing to just cut bait with Micah Parsons. A 25, 26-year-old monster. To me, this is the equivalent, and I know people gonna think this is crazy when I say certain equivalents, but like if the Ravens traded away Ray Lewis or Ed Reed or Terrell Suggs within that first contract, like, yeah, we're not gonna re-up you on that contract, we're gonna go ahead and trade you. To me, that's essentially trading away players of that level of talent. That'd be like the Colts trading away Peyton Manning within that first 5 years. Trading away Bob Sanders or what's my boys' names, man? The 2 pass rushers, bro. I don't know how. Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. Trading away Andrew Luck after his first 4 years. Like, this is any team you can think of trading away their absolute best player. This is the player that everybody wished. Like everybody who drafted above him, if you don't have a player that's that generational level of talent like Micah Parsons, you say, man, I wish I had drafted Micah Parsons. Dallas said, man, I wish we didn't draft Micah Parsons. Cause no, matter of fact, they said we lucky we drafted him because now we can get these draft picks and we can get Kenny Clark, who Kenny Clark is a damn good player, but he ain't Micah Parsons. But they, Jerry Jones said we can get these draft picks and we get Kenny Clark to help fill a need to stop the run, blase. My boy, you got a lot more problems than just stopping the run, because now you got to find a way to get a pass rush. And if your defensive coordinator can't coach up a pass rush through scheme and get players to play better than they actually are because of scheme, well, now you need pass rushers. Like, you need pass rush level players. So, and it's two levels of pass rushers. You got those pass rushers like the Ravens got, whose scheme do help them, but they got a lot of good individual pass rushers. But then you got those pass rushers as game changers. And you had one. And it's hard to get that type of pass rusher. That's why you saw Cleveland not willing to part with Myles Garrett. That's why you haven't seen the Raiders entertain trading away Max Crosby. That's why you see Aiden Hutchinson is going to still get paid, even with his injury last year. Because those type of pass rushers don't grow on trees. When you get them, and you do everything you can to put your team in a position where you can utilize that dude. Meaning you try to become a great team, because you know when you become a great team and you get in those big games, in those big situations where you need a key stop, where you need a big turnover, you got an Aiden Hutchinson, you got a TJ Watt, you got a Myles Garrett, you had a Micah Parsons. It's an insane trade. It's an insane trade. And Jerry Jones has just lost his way, if you want to say it like that. Because I know it's going to be a lot of Jerry Jones dick munchers out there. I done seen it all today. But I just don't really know how you can defend this type of nonsense. I said it before, that Jerry Jones seemed to love putting certain players through the ringer when it comes to getting a contract. Because I can't remember him putting Jason Witten and Tony Romo through this type of shit. Or his Zach Martin or guys like that. But for some reason, it was real hard for Dak to get a contract, Dez to get a contract, Micah to get a contract, Zeke to get a contract, like CD to get his contract. And I know motherfuckers out there were like, oh, well, they eventually got paid. Yeah, but it took a lot for them to get there. It took a long time for them to get, a lot of fighting for them to finally get to that contract. Mind you, Micah didn't get to that contract. Micah did get an $188 million 4-year deal from the Green Bay Packers with $136 million fully guaranteed. I think the Packers got lucky, because I'm going to be honest, I thought Micah should have probably got at least 150, 160 fully guaranteed, to be honest with you. I mean, you got to understand, the Packers got McKinney. They got great players over there. And the Packers have a great scheme, in my opinion. The Packers defense done been heavily criticized over the last couple of years. In my opinion, they have not been as bad as people have talked about. This year, I'm a little worried, more so than I have been in the past for the Packers, because I don't think the secondary is as great, and it don't have the players that it has had in the past. But we'll see. Micah Parsons definitely improves your defense. He definitely become, if not the best player on your team already. If you think it's positional importance, then you'll probably say Jordan Love, and a lot of people wouldn't even put Jordan Love over Micah Parsons. But he definitely become a top 3 player on your team right now. I think right now I would have him as the best player on the team with Jordan Love behind him, but Jordan Love is definitely, if Jordan Love gets to his potential, he will be one of the top players in the league, let alone the best player on his team. But this type of move is the type of move that you pray and you hope Micah and Jordan Love come together and create dominance for the next couple years. I still believe that the Packers, because now we're basically transitioning into the Packers for a second. Matter of fact, no, I'll get to the Packers. But jumping back to Jerry Jones, to me, this just can't happen. This can't happen. I told you the equivalent of what this was like, trading away different type of players. But this just can't happen. You cannot draft a player, develop them, have them become Micah Parsons, and then trade them away. And say that, when we trade them away, the running game needed help. So, getting Kenny Clark was a great addition. Getting those 2 first round, like, none of that equates. Now, maybe in this next, maybe somehow the football guys truly are about to bless Jerry Jones. And he about to get 2 Micah Parsons level players with those first 2 picks in the draft. and he about to get Kenny Clark about to play even better than he was already as a Packer. Because Kenny Clark is a great player, but maybe he about to even become the level of player that we look at Mike as. And so maybe he about to get 3 Micah Parsons in a deal. Or maybe you say you can't go 3 for 3, so he'll get 2 Micah Parsons level players in that draft. Maybe you somebody who's an optimistic and say, nah, it ain't even like that. We just need 1 player to be Micah Parsons in that draft. But I'm here to tell you, the likelihood of any 3 of those players becoming a Micah Parsons level player, Kenny Clark obviously already done played out a lot of his career so far. I'm not gonna say most of his career. But the possibility, the chances of any of those 3 players, Kenny Clark or those 2 draft picks, becoming Micah Parsons, because you got to also remember, you might not even draft a pass rusher with either of those 2 draft picks. So I'm even giving you I'm throwing you a bone and saying any positional player, any player you draft for those 2 players, the possibility of them having an impact of a Micah Parsons and being the level of talent that a Micah Parsons is highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. Now, I don't think it was a terrible trade because you could have done way worse. You still did get 2 first-round picks, and you still got a Kenny Clark, a high-level player. So this was still, I think this was probably as good a trade. Well, I don't want to say this is the best trade you could have made because I don't know what other teams was offering. Like I can think of a couple packages that a couple teams could have put together that would have been a just as good a package, if not better package for the Green Bay Packers. But it's hard to really imagine how many different packages could have been put together for this because this is not a trade where a package should have happened. This is not a player that should have been traded. This is one of those players in the NFL that and to me, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, I know it's going to be misguided fans that call Micah money hungry and yada, yada, yada. The same old playbook that a lot of the ignorant fans do once a great player lead the team, regardless if it's because of the owner or other situations. Nonetheless, I really think if you're a Cowboy fan, this is disappointing because you had a premier player in the NFL on your team. Now, if you think Dak is a premier quarterback in the league, if you do or don't, it don't really matter. Dallas does. So you had Dak. You have CD, you had Micah, you had 3 bona fide stars. And Micah probably was the biggest of all 3 of them. Like, Dallas fans love Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons you loved him on a level higher than what you loved those other 2 because you felt like Micah Parsons was, for one, you always saw his face everywhere. I guess that's a perk of being a Cowboy. But Micah Parsons, I mean, let's be honest, he's a top 10 player in the league. Neither CD nor Dak Prescott is a top 10 player in the league. Micah Parsons is. So the love that you have for Micah Parsons makes sense. He's been a Pro Bowler all first 4 years. He had 3-time All-Pro. Like, if he had played all last year, he probably was an All-Pro again last year. So I get it. But at what point in time do you turn that hatred? What point in time did the entire fan base come to the realization this is a Jerry Jones problem, not a Micah Parsons problem, not a players are being greedy problem? It's real funny. Broke people always want what they worth, but rich people got to be satisfied. It's a very interesting concept. But I think that the ultimate thing that's still going to hold Dallas back. Now, it's funny because I said last year that Jerry Jones is not the biggest problem for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is, because Dak Prescott in big games against great teams, against great quarterbacks, he just don't show up. That's just the reality. This happening, this is Jerry Jones taking that step and saying, I'm going to fuck this team more than what Dak Prescott can possibly do because I'm going to take away a huge piece of this team that can help us be successful and has helped us be successful in the past. I think it's real funny when a dude is as great as he is for a team, you celebrate them accomplishments, and then when friction happens, it's, well, we was bad with him, so we can be bad without him. That's a funny concept. But Jerry Jones and, him trying to say that Micah Parsons and him agreed to a deal when his agent wasn't there and Micah went back on it and all this type of, to me, this is insane. It's insane. Announcing publicly that he's not going to address the agent and he don't want to talk to the agent because the contract is done and they had a deal and this is crazy. And then you hear him come out and his ego say, well, Micah Parsons is a Cowboy for the next 3 years. Now that didn't end up coming true, but just listening to the way Jerry Jones had talked about this situation, this is further proof. This is further reasons as to why I always am dumbfounded when fans ride with the owners over players. It's absolutely crazy. But getting to this Green Bay Packers side of things, this is a great move for the Green Bay Packers, in my opinion. I mean, how can it not be? I don't think the Packers are going to miss those picks that they traded away. I don't think they're going to miss Kenny Clark. As a matter of fact, I think they'll be able to replace Kenny Clark, and I think because the Packers are great at drafting, they'll be able to replace that. And who knows, they might even be able to swing a player for another first-round draft pick to get back in the first round. I think the Packers are one of those teams that's very resourceful. Like, they find great players that other people might not find. Plus, they done been more willing to go out and spend in the last couple years. They bring in Xavier McKinney. They bring in Micah Parsons now. They give both of those dudes contracts. So, now, the one thing I did tell my brother when I was talking about this, I said, this is very interesting if you Micah Parsons living in Dallas, Texas, and now going to live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You know, that is just, as a black man, that is a huge change. You know, a huge change. Very cold and very white. Huge change. And I'm sure it's a lot of black in Wisconsin, but man, that is a change. So it's going to be very interesting. The scenery, the food scenery, just the things you can do. Like, and I done heard how people talk about Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like, so that is a very interesting change of scenery for Micah Parsons. But I think Micah Parsons is going to be great in Green Bay. I think if you listened to me before, and if you haven't, I love Matt LaFleur. I think Matt LaFleur is probably one of my favorite coaches, if not my favorite. Nah, nobody going to be over my guy, John Harbaugh. But Matt LaFleur, one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, and I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I say all the time on the show throughout the years, to me, the biggest mistake Aaron Rodgers made in the back end of his career was not allowing himself to be coached up more by Matt LaFleur, by not allowing Matt LaFleur to take the reins of the offense a little bit more and help him get to it. Because now we can all see Aaron Rodgers is at the point in his career where he need help, where he need a helping hand, where he need people to help him stand up straight at times. And Matt LaFleur could have been that guy for him. But he just would not, he could not let, his ego couldn't let him allow Matt LaFleur to become great. He didn't want to hear, we great because, yeah, he'll say it because he's going to put on the good thing for me. But he did not want people saying he was great because Matt LaFleur was prolonging his career and yada yada. But I guarantee you right now, he would love to have Matt LaFleur prolonging his career, because I don't care who he done been with recently. Mike Tomlin, none of them dudes that he done been with since he done left LaFleur are better right now than Matt LaFleur. That's just the reality. And none of the teams he done been to since leaving Green Bay have been better than Green Bay. That's just the reality. So I think Matt LaFleur, I think Micah Parsons is in a great situation because, for one, like I said, this is going to take Green Bay's defense to another level. But now Micah Parsons knows every year he's playing for something. For the next 4 years, Micah Parsons knows I'm playing for something. I have an opportunity to go win a Super Bowl. I have a bona fide stud quarterback who can go into other people's stadium and win, who can play in the big games and win. Yes, we play in a tough division, but I am the exact type of player that you need in this type of division. Not to mention, a Micah Parsons could fuck up the day for a J.J. McCarthy. He could fuck up the day for a Jared Goff. Like, he not in a division with a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, a Pat Mahomes, where the pass rush not going to really stop them from, being great. You play in a division where the pass rush is great. You don't even have to get home as many times as you probably would against them other three. You get home 1 or 2 times, or you always there in their face, and you can affect the game in a whole greater way. So, to me, this is huge for Green Bay. I was probably going to pick Green Bay to win the division this year. I picked them to win the division last year. I did not know Jordan Love would get hurt that early in the season. And they had the Rocky type. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about Green Bay still, thinking about this, how I'm ranking them and whatnot, I still don't believe in a receiving core at the moment. Like, I don't believe that Jordan Love is not still having to make players exceptional or way better to be great right now. Like, I don't trust that there's a receiver out there that for 17 games, you can rely on them to be the number one receiver every single game. I don't think they have that right now. I think they got more of a Lamar Jackson guy. And even to an extent, I don't think any of them dudes is a Zay Flowers type reliable. I think you got a team full of Rashad Batemans. Now, the talent level of Rashad Bateman and those dudes on that team, I don't. That's up in the air. Some people might think Bateman better. Some people might think the receivers on Green Bay are better. What I do know is I still don't see a number one. Now Golden may end up being the number one for Green Bay. I don't know. But I still don't believe that Green Bay has a number one receiver. And this is why I was annoyed for the last 2 years when people kept saying, oh, Green Bay can do fine with a collection of receivers, win by committee. No, that is not. No. Pat Mahomes don't even do that shit. He got a number one, his tight end. Like, no, you have to have a number one guy that you can go to that's a reliable, anytime the quarterback is in trouble, he know for a fact his number one going to be open. Like I said, regardless if it's a tight end or a receiver, you got to have a tight. Now, I prefer you have a number one receiver, but at some point in time, you just got to have a number one. At some point in time, I would like for you to have a number one receiver. But you just got to have a number one something. And to me, Jordan Love don't have a number one anything. He have a collection of good players, pass catchers. But nobody that's, to me, Travis Kelce or even a Mark for what Mark Andrews was for Lamar early in his career. But I don't think they had that right now. So it'll be very interesting to see what the offense is like for them because they do a lot of play action, a lot of, the movements, the pre-snap movements and things of that nature. And they still got Josh Jacobs. So I think it's still going to be a great offense. And Jordan Love continuing to get better. It's not even really continuing to get better for Jordan Love, even though, yes, it is continuing to get better. It's really just breaking some of the bad habits within his game because just breaking some of his bad habits is going to take Jordan Love to another stratosphere in itself. But this move for the Packers, to me, is a bit... How many times does a trade like this happen where you get a 25, 26-year-old top line pass rusher, fuck a top line, top 3 pass rusher in the league? Once again, a lot of people will tell you that that's the number 1 pass rusher in the league because of his age and all the metrics, yada, yada, yada. Conversations for dope-ass nerds on a different day. But how many times does this happen? Like when you go to bed at night, you don't even dream of shit like this. Well, you do dream of shit like this, I guess. But you never think this type of thing becomes a reality. That you could make a trade for Micah Parsons. And you did. So shout out to Green Bay for that. I think this really changes things for Green Bay. I think this should make Green Bay even more aggressive, to be completely honest with you. Like if Green Bay go through this year and they get close to a Super Bowl, let's say they get to it and don't win it. I really think Green Bay should attack that receiving position. Like, I really think they should be willing to package up some of these receivers and go out and try to make a splash for a big-time receiver. Like a bona fide stud for Jordan Love. Like, I really wanted them to bring Devontae Adams back. It makes sense that Devontae didn't go back after living in Vegas. Why would I go from Vegas back to Green Bay, Wisconsin? I'd rather go to L.A. That make perfect sense for Devontae. But I don't know if they'll be able to, because no, I don't see a player going to Green Bay just under their own free will. Like, I'm a top tier receiver in the league, I'm gonna just sign with Green Bay. Like, I just don't see that. I don't see it. I could see them trading for one before one just says, I'm gonna go to Green Bay under my own free will. Now, once you get them there, you trade for them. I could see them signing an extension there, or if they have to play like 2 or 3 years there, then sign an extension off the back of that. Because rarely do players play at an organization for a long time, play great there, get offered a great contract in return, and then say, nah, I'm not taking that contract, I'm just gonna leave. That rarely happens. You know what I'm saying? That's why Giannis was in it's been in Milwaukee for as long as he done been in Milwaukee. But I like this move for the Green Bay Packers. This move could end up ultimately working out for the Cowboys. I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't agree with the trade whatsoever. I think it's a stupid trade. I knew it was going to happen because I imagined that the Cowboys were always going to trade him. I felt that way dating back to last year. But at the end of the day, it's a shocking trade. It's a stupid trade in my opinion. I don't really know how you justify a trade like this unless some of these players that you directly got back as far as draft picks and player for Micah turn into a Micah level player. And Micah level player also include like importance of position. Like, I don't know if many people will say hey, this player we drafted has been to the Pro Bowl 3 years as a receiver. He don't really have the impact that a Micah Parsons probably position has. So you might not view him. But maybe you think the receiver position is more valuable than Micah Parsons' position. So if you do, then hey, if Dallas get that, then you win there. Even though I don't know why Dallas would use those picks on the receiver. Because I imagine they're going to end up re-signing, who was my guy that they just traded for from the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm blanking on his name. You know who I'm talking about, though. But with that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint, the Micah Parsons edition. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love them. You can be anything in this world, so choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. You can be anything in this world. I just said that. Deliria, tiredness, whatever you want to call it, kicked in right there. Nonetheless, I fuck with you. I love you. Till next time. Saint out.
Poor tackling.
What happened between you and Talib on the field early in the game?
I don't know. You gonna ask him because he didn't finish the game. Ice up, son. Ice up.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty ran track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.